What famous person didn't deserve all the hate that they got?
Macaulay Redditors old enough to remember, the young Home Alone star got a bunch of hate for being a spoiled brat when he sued to divorce his. Of the matter is his father was a physically abusive and his parents were going to take the $15 minus $20 he earned from acting and leave Macaulay with nothing.
Salieri, pretty chill dude, Mozart's biggest supporter, lent him his librettista so he could write Figaro. Took care of Mozart's kid after he passed away.
Ignaz Philipp Semmelweis, he was a Hungarian physician and scientist, described as the savior of mothers. He proposed the practice of washing hands with chlorinated lime solutions in 1847 while working in Vienna General Hospital's first obstetrical clinic, where doctors' wards had 3 times the mortality of midwives. Doctors were offended at the suggestion that they should wash their hands and mocked him for it. In 1865 he allegedly suffered a nervous breakdown and was committed to an asylum by his colleagues. In the asylum he was beaten by the guards. He died 14 days later from a gangrenous wound on his right hand that may have been caused by the beating. His findings earned widespread acceptance only years after his death, when Louis Pasteur confirmed the germ theory.
Natasha Kampusch. She was kidnapped in Vienna, Austria on her way to school when she was 10 years old and held captive in a secret bunker for 8 years. She managed to escape and her abuser killed himself the same day. Sadly, the public seems to hate her because she refused to talk publicly about the details of her. She was 10 when kidnapped and escaped after 8 years. Thanks for the correction.
Lindsay Lohan overworked and pimped out by her parents.
Tara Reid. She did not drive. She did not anybody with her car. She did not get arrested. She partied a lot and her fell out. That's it. Also, if memory serves, she was treated horribly by Carson Daly.
A dingo ate me of Azaria were ridiculed and hounded by the press, and the grieving mother's statement became a pop culture reference. They were accused of murdering their years later. It was finally proven that a dingo had, in fact, eaten their baby.
Edgar Allan Poe. Everyone hates him for marrying his underage cousin, but they never look into it. He only married her because she was betrothed to an old obese man that she didn't want to marry. He never touched her as a husband touches a wife, and they slept in completely different. After reading some comments, I decided to look into it once again, and the few sources I had read about years ago have now been proven wrong. I found this out today, so I've been carrying a falsehood for years. I ask for forgiveness from everybody, as Edgar Allan Poe did just marry his underage cousin just for the sake of marrying her. Or more accurately, their relationship is debated but leans more on the side of him doing the latter.
Oedipus. He didn't know it was his mother until after he had slept with her. Then he blinded himself because he was so disgusted by what he'd done. But thanks to Freud, everyone associates him with wanting to bone your mother. Not fair. I always felt bad for him.
All the child stars that went off the rails. They didn't ask for fame.
The guy who played Kid Anakin, he was bullied so hard that it ruined all the love he had for Star Wars.
Rob Pilatus and Fab Morvan. They weren't told until after they had already signed the contracts and spent an advance from the record label on new clothes and hair extensions for their promo shoots that they wouldn't be singing on the album. They couldn't afford to pay back the advance, so they said they would stick with the label until they made enough money to pay them back. When the lip-sync scandal went down, they got all the blame for it.
Y'all probably too young to remember when Keanu Reeves was a late-night punchline for years. In the 90s, every reference to the man was about how he seemed.
Corey Feldman over his comments about childhood abuse in Hollywood. Barbara Walters treated him like and basically told the world he was a liar.
Hayden Christensen, who played Anakin and the child actor of Anakin. They both got so much, I still don't get why.
Paris Hilton sold Revenge to a legit publisher and got away with it. She somehow got treated as if she was responsible.
Rebecca Black got roasted hard at 14 years old for the song Friday. Patrice Wilson was the producer and got paid by both Black's mum and a good chunk of the proceeds, but he flew under the radar from the abuse. Granted, it's a dumb song, but the hatred was immense for a 14-year-old kid.
Honestly, Britney Spears. The way we treated her after the breakdown is downright sad. The fact that more people don't crack under the pressure she was going through baffles me. Imagine your life is televised almost 24/7 and you couldn't even feel sure that you had privacy in your own home. Not even gonna get into the conservatorship. We really did her dirty. Regardless of what you think about the music, she deserved and deserves to be treated with more respect than she got.
Mama Cass was an absolute beautiful, intensely powerful voice. But because she was in the 60s to 70s she was bullied relentlessly by the died of heart failure and a random doctor said she could have died choking on a ham sandwich. The media just dropped articles that is how there is any reason for me to despise older generations, it's how they treated Mama Cass.
I won't forget a comment I saw here on Reddit a while ago that said, "We all owe that, leave Britney alone, guy an apology."
Michael Phelps, IMO, he could have denied that picture of him smoking marijuana was actually him since it was unclear. At the end of the day he didn't deny it and lost some serious endorsements if I remember a big deal.
Alan Turing, you're not being forced to salute the flag because of him and the very people whose he saved drove him to suicide.
Meg White, yes, she was not the most advanced drummer but she was probably playing to the best of her ability at the time. Even though her beats were basic, they did the trick and the White Stripes became famous. I get sick of all these music snobs saying, imagine how great the White Stripes would have been if they had a decent drummer. They miss the point entirely. It was a husband and wife making music and enjoying that together. You don't have to be classically trained for it to sound good. I don't need Dream Academy theater level drummers in every band.
Sinead to expose the abuse from the churches and pretty much lost her career. People used her as a punching bag at the time, but nobody ever apologized to her.
Sully, she was a K-pop idol who was driven to suicide by from malicious netizens who hated her for being outspoken in a conservative she passed. People even said she was just too weak.
Richard Jewell.
That hot coffee, McDonald's lady. The story that I had heard and believed for years was that some woman burned her tongue a little and sued McDonald's for not marking clearly that their coffee was. The reality was that McDonald's raised the temperature of their coffee way higher than normal. It spilled on her when getting it in the drive-thru, and her burns were horrifically severe and she needed skin grafts. She was suing for so much because it literally how much her medical bills cost. But so many people ridiculed her, and the case for people calling me out for saying, higher than boiling point. I just meant that it was really really hot.
Lena Headey, according to an interview she received a lot of hate when she played Cersei in Game of Thrones. I guess some people can't separate reality from film. Shows how great of an actress she is.
Amy Winehouse. Once. Rehab. Hit and she became that pinup girl with the drug problem icon. It was all but over. Media played her out like Britney or others, but in reality she was a talented musician who wrote all her own songs and brought a modern style of jazz to what was otherwise pop at the time. Didn't help her father and partner used her for all she was worth till the end.
Fatty Arbuckle. He went to prison for years when the DA tried him for death of a starlet. Later found innocent, he was no longer welcome in Hollywood.
Guy Fieri. People dog on him for no reason. He has a fun TV show and I've heard he does a lot for charity.
Rodney Mann just never got any respect.
Monica Lewinsky.
Pee Wee Herman.
Sinead O'Connor. She was right to call out John Paul II for covering up abuse in the Catholic Church.
The guy who played Joffrey Baratheon, Jack Gleason. Edit. If this is untrue then I'll be more than happy to be downvoted. That guy played his role to perfection.
Janet Jackson. A dude rips off part of her costume and she gets cancelled. Also, it's a why the uproar? A great.
Dixie Chicks.
Anna Nicole Smith, Britney Spears, Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Bynes, Eartha Kitt.
Jimmy Carter. He was an okay president during some hard times. And now we know that Reagan's people delayed the release of the Iran hostages until after the election.
Marie Antoinette. A well-meaning, polite teen with next to zero knowledge of a world she wasn't let near, by those who made the decisions for her. And then she was killed.
Brendan Fraser. After the trailer for The Whale was released, the acceptance movement had a go at him. Activists went on and on about how fat-phobic it supposedly was that he was wearing a suit instead of gaining the weight for the tried to cancel the movie, and said that as he was a small fat, he shouldn't have played a role that was made for a super fat actor. The way I see it, Brendan Fraser is one of the few unproblematic celebrities who got the opportunity to make a comeback after years of not acting. He made this comeback after being open about being a victim of abuse, and he doesn't deserve to be welcomed with more hate and more abuse, especially from people who could make the choice to change themselves instead of moaning it out everyone who happens to be slimmer than them.